It is now my pleasure to welcome in Paul Pierce. Paul was the truth for the Boston Celtics, and he speaks the truth about today's NBA. Welcome, Paul Pierce.
Good to be here.
All right. Paul worked with Rachel Nichols at the other network, and here they are together again on Undisputed. Rachel, let's start with you. What's your best guess as of this moment on how this James Harden mess gets resolved?
Well, look, James Harden recently was asked, do you think you can ever see yourself patching up things with Daryl Morey? And he said no. He said it's like a marriage when you've lost faith in the other person. If we were at divorce levels at the start of training camp, we are at like Kim, Kanye, Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt levels coming into this week, because there is a real question about whether he's going to show up for that game. If he does, is he going to do his like listless, I don't want to shoot for a quarter or two thing? Either way, this is about to get nasty. Remember, last year, Ben Simmons didn't show up for games. He ended up being fined $19 million over the first half of the season. That's real money, people. And we have to see if James Harden is willing to do that. Either way, he has shown he can be very stubborn. But remember, the Sixers can be very stubborn here, too. And there is a huge reason why they need to get enough value in this trade to be able to keep Joel Embiid. They need to be able to bundle stuff together like Flo from the insurance commercials, and they need to push that into a big star before the trade deadline so Joel Embiid will feel like he had a real shot at the title this year.
Okay, so now you're kind of leaning toward trade deadline before he goes?
No. I'm saying that's what they'd love to get him out of there right now, but the Clippers don't want to play ball with that. They've asked for Terrence Mann. LA has said absolutely not. And this is just one of those things where Daryl Morey has to either accept the reality in front of him, which is that the trade market is just not what he wants, to be able to flip that to keep Joel Embiid, or whether he's going to hold out for a little bit and see if someone gets desperate as the season progresses.
All right, Paul, what do you think?
I really don't even see a perfect fit for James Harden. I mean, I know all the rumors have been going toward the Clippers, but let's say he does go to the Clippers. You got Westbrook over there, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. Is he willing to take a lesser role? Is he going to come off the bench? Does he start? He hasn't been there for training camp. Westbrook understands the system. He played well for him at the end of last year. And so is he willing to drop his ego, play a role? Otherwise, I don't see it even being a good fit for the Los Angeles Clippers, let alone any other team in the league.
I like the fit with the Clippers. I just don't think
But
they
does he come off the bench? Does he start?
No, he starts. Russ goes to the bench, which, Russ has shown a little bit more willingness. Russ is turning 35 in like 2 weeks. He understands where he is at this point in his career. He actually was very encouraging during training camp. Someone asked him, like, kind of goading him, are you going to get back to your old self the way you were before you were at the Lakers?
I'll show you that in just a moment.
Great.
But the point is, I'm with Paul on this.
Really?
At some point, this league is going to say no to James Harden because he's 34 going on 44. He does not stay in great shape. And look, the best way I can sum up his career is he is obviously supremely gifted. As great a perimeter scorer when he was right as we've ever seen. But he has loser intangibles where when you need him the most, you trust him the least because he's flamed out in playoff after playoff after playoff. So what happened against your Celtics, Paul?
Home game, game 6.
Hey,
you got two opportunities to step up.
You've got it. You score 45 in game 1, then you come back with 42 in game 4, and I'm saying, oh, there he is. I picked the Sixers to win it all last year. I think, okay, they got it now. No, they don't got it because in those 2 games, he completely and utterly disappeared, as we've seen repeatedly. So to me, the prospect of James Harden reuniting with Russell Westbrook from their Oklahoma City days in the backcourt is double jeopardy because I'm going to remind everybody, if you go back to 2016-17, James Harden was first in the league in turnovers and Russ was second. 2018, Russ won, James 2. 2019, James 1, Russ 2 in turnovers. It goes year after year. Trae Young took them over, and they finished 2 and 3 in 2020. Then Russ led in 2021. James was second in 22. These are the 2 highest turnover makers that we've probably ever seen as a duo in the history of this league. And remember, Russ, over the last 7 years, has shown you repeatedly he is the highest turnover plus worst three-point shooter we've ever seen in combination in the history of this league because he's always at the very bottom of three-point shooting and at the very top in turnovers. So how can you put those two together? If you think Ty Lue needed a sabbatical back in the day when LeBron was there, he would need a mid-season sabbatical because these two would hasten his retirement.
I cannot disagree more. I think he is a great fit with the Clippers. The Clippers just know that they have to treat him like a rental for this season because you never know what he's going to do when you get to the end of the next season. But look, he is the reigning assist leader. He is a real pick and roll threat. He is probably going to be the best playmaker they've had at the Clippers if he gets traded there since Chris Paul. I mean, they need him. And by the way, he would push Russ to the bench. So if you think Russ is dangerous on that team, Skip, then you're going to get less of him if James Harden comes.
How are you going to deal with Russ on the bench?
Go ask Russ is
Rachel.
more humble, though. But now I'm saying, like, how do you put the ball in James Harden's hand and take it out of Kawhi and Paul George's hand?
Yeah.
How do you do that? They're not going to sit around and watch the James Harden show.
No.
He's going to have to come in and fill in a role. And we're not going to sit here and watch him ISO at the top, run pick and roll, and wait in the corner on the ball. This is Kawhi's team. This is Paul George's team.
But he didn't do that last season in Philadelphia. He was able to play more of that team game. And I have faith in Ty Lue. I mean, that's your guy. Don't you think that if anyone can manage those personalities, it's Ty?
I don't know if anybody can manage James Harden's attitude because the last three franchises we've seen him with, he's crippled these franchises. I mean, look at what happened in Houston. They're rebuilding. Same thing in Brooklyn. And we're going to see a rebuild real soon in Philadelphia because if Embiid is not happy in the next year or two, he's going to be out of there. And this is the James Harden effect that we're seeing everywhere he goes. Let him go to the Clippers, and the same thing is going to happen there in a couple years.
Yeah, and to your point, Paul, we did watch James quit his way out of Houston and then quit his way out of Brooklyn, and now he's forcing his way out of Philadelphia. It's bad for the league because it sounds like I'm doing grumpy old man talk, but back in your day, when you did win a championship, you guys played. You know, when it's time to play, you played basketball.
Or not, you play.
You just play, okay? It's just how it has to be done. James doesn't want to play. It's all about James, and it's all about Russ. Russ is the all-time greatest solo act stat machine we've ever seen in the history of this league because for 4 straight years, 4 out of 5, he averaged a triple-double.
How is that horrifying to you? He's literally lowering the expectations on himself.
He said to be back to Russ, he's got to go 21, 11, and 12.
But he didn't say that's what he
You can't
wants
do it
to
on
do.
this team.
He's saying that other people have that expectation of him, and he's the only one who can set that bar.
I think he would like to get back to being that Russ, that triple-double average Russ.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think he was really humble in the Lakers situation where he had to sit on the bench and come and back up Patrick Beverley of all people. I think that's a humbling experience.
Yeah.
So he came to Clippers to rejuvenate his career because at first you looked at Russ might not be in the league a little bit, not too much longer, but now he's reinvented himself to where now you can see Russ playing this type of role with the Clippers for the next 3-4 years if he plays the way he played last year. He doesn't have to be a triple-double threat because he has other great pieces. And in my opinion, Clippers probably have the deepest team in the league. So we don't need 21, 10, and 12 from him. He just needs to fill in the role, play hard, show some leadership capabilities, which I think the Clippers lacked. And he could be that voice in the locker room who's respected and be a leader, just as Jason Kidd was on that Dallas Mavericks team when they won a championship.
Okay, but Rachel, how do you explain that LeBron campaigned to go get Russ and then campaigned to get out from under Russ?
Not everything works, Skip. Come on. We've seen that on all kinds of teams before. I mean, that doesn't surprise me. Certainly not in today's NBA. It's like a soap opera here every day. Of course that kind of stuff is going to happen. I do think that Russell got a rude awakening, as you say, Paul, when he's backing up Patrick Beverley. I do think he got a rude awakening when everybody in that locker room seemed to want him gone. It got a lot of piling on toward the end there. And I do think that he is genuinely happy with the Clippers. And he knows this is pretty much his last shot. No one else is going to pick him up at age 35. He loves being in L.A. He's from here. He's raising his family here. I think he is going to be fine. And what I took out of that clip is him saying, hey, you guys keep asking me, you expect me to be this person I was when I was the MVP. He said, that's not realistic. He said that later in the quote. He was saying, I'm not that person now. I'm not the same age now. I have to set my own expectations. I'm the only one who can do that. I love hearing that if I'm Ty Lue. The question is, if James Harden gets into this mix,
that's what I'm
how
saying.
will that
That's
affect
not a
the
great
locker room
fit.
and
I don't know
everything?
why this is being pushed to the Clippers because to me, that's not a great fit. The
I like
great
the
fit is staying in
basketball fit.
Philly. to where you're the second in command to Joel Embiid. You have an opportunity at a championship. So obviously he's probably not happy or trying to win in basketball.
Kim and Kanye, baby.
There's other things he's more worried about.
Okay, I agree with that. The best fit for him is to stay put. But obviously, as Rachel points out, the marriage has gone so bad that they feel like they've cheated on each other to some point that they can't live with each other anymore. But is Daryl Morey's MO here to try to wait James out and to show James that nobody really wants him badly enough for them to be able to trade him and get equal return? So is it possible that Daryl can kind of break James down into finally saying, okay, I'll play for you guys this year?
Well, look, I don't think his goal is to break James down. His goal is to secure the team so Joel Embiid wants to be there. That's it. That's what all these decisions are being made on. And if he can trade James for what he wants, which is to get back from the Clippers, not only 2 picks or a pick and a pick swap, but Terrence Mann, who has become the sticking point in this deal. And there are people going, what are you talking about, Terrence Mann? This is what's holding this up. But first of all, for the Clippers, that represents their future and their development. And for Daryl Morey, he wants him so badly because he can turn him right around, Drew Holiday style, trade him for more higher picks, and then bundle that again to get another piece for Joel. Or he can convince James to stay. But, Paul, you tell us, you've been in locker rooms like that. You've been with people who, when they want out, they want out. Can you convince James Harden to change his mind?
There's no convincing a guy who's made over $500 million in basketball money on and off the court. I mean, you can tell his ego is through the roof. When he wants out, he wants out. Now, if you can find a trade for James Harden that keeps Philadelphia in contention, that will be the ultimate finesse move in NBA history, because obviously James cripples franchises, like I said, and they don't have any leverage on the trade. You know, they've lost all leverage because James wants out, and, you know, they're going to have to take pennies on the dollar.
So, Paul, what does it say to you that the Clippers say you can't have Terrence Mann for James Harden? What does that say? Look, I like Terrence Mann. He's a great kid, plays hard, comes off the bench. He's an igniter. He knows how to play, plays the right way. Okay, but he's just a guy. He's just Terrence Mann. What does that say?
That's telling me they really don't want James Harden. I mean,
that's what Daryl Morey said. Daryl Morey made the claim they're not negotiating in good faith.
Like, if you're not trading Terrence Mann for James Harden, they really don't want him. Or maybe they've consulted with some of the other players like Kawhi or Paul George and asked their opinion. And maybe they secretly said, hey, I'm not sure that's a good idea bringing Harden to L.A., making him a fit on this ball club, because we feel like, Ty Lue said this, we haven't had a healthy team in the playoffs in years. Let me see where my guys at on a healthy roster and going to the playoffs, because we feel like we're a championship caliber team as put together right now.
Well said. Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.